after that disastrous start. I don't know what is going on. Ridiculous. YouTube today is not being great. One thing is a thumbnail, the next is something else. But anyway, I absolutely digress. I did have the show ready to go for the last hour, and then of course at the end, YouTube does what it does best. So welcome to the show. This is Friday night show with me, JB. So I hope you're all doing extremely well this Friday evening. It's his Friday evening. Let me know what you're doing this Friday night. Friday night show is quite interesting on the basis that on the odd occasion, I'm sure we get people who just come in from the pub who comes in here, and sometimes it can be quite funny, sometimes not so much. I hope we're all doing extremely well today. Let me know where you're from. Let me know your thoughts. Danny B, big up to Danny B, mate. I literally set up this show about an hour ago, came on, and then it decided to start playing funny bugs. So I've had to then redo a show again and put it back on here. So I hope you're all doing extremely well this evening. As I said, as I always say in this, get into the chat. We don't mind banter. We have some amazing rival fans on here as well who are always respectful, always amazing. Banter is welcome here. As it always is, the only thing I do ask is all about respect. I respect your views and opinions. I ask you to respect the chat. Just be respectful to the chat. Otherwise, the ban hammer gets brought down and you will be removed. And we don't like to do it. It does take a lot, but something that we don't like to do. I'm also not a dictator of this chat. It's not my word, and that's the end of the conversation. I do tend to read your chats. This is why it takes so long. These shows take so long. It's because I do go through your chats and I do read them. So just be careful what you say, because I do read them out. I don't get caught out, by the way. So yeah. So we can start off this show. Really, these evening shows is all really about your opinion. I'll bring it in a topic tonight. I'm going to talk about Amorim and press conference. We can go through some of the things that he basically said on the conference. If you want to bring in any of your own things, a little weird stuff that's come out about Fernandes's release clause in the contract. I do find that bizarre why that's come out. Now, the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn down this light because it is bugging me slightly. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. There you go. A lovely little bit of mood lighting there, just to bring the show down to a Friday night chill. So that is where we are tonight. So yeah, get into the chat. Let me know what you're up to, what your expectations are for the game tomorrow. Do you think we're going to win tomorrow? Do you think we can follow it up? And yeah, so I think I was going to start off with a conference, but I think where I'll probably go at the moment is Bruno Fernandes and his release clause. So it's come out tonight. It's all over everywhere pretty much. Palace FTBL says, I don't know what to upload. I'll post it tomorrow. Any ideas? That's a good question. I don't know. You could post. I don't know, mate. Why don't you do a tribute to Crystal Palace in their FA Cup? I think that'll be good. I haven't heard anything about the presser. What was said? Okay, so let's go through that. Liam. First of all, and then we can talk about this release clause in Bruno's contract. This £56.86 million clause, and we can talk about that. Leo says, post about Sheffield Wednesday about to go bust. Yeah, I saw that. That's never nice, is it? I'm back, Kiwi. I am back. I set this bloody thing up an hour ago to go. It's been all out there for an hour, and then Jesus, and then it dies at the last second. So let's get through the press conference. So Amorim was asked about players who the players available for tomorrow. So Amorim basically said that Maguire and Mason Mount have picked up knocks in midweek and my doubts for this weekend. Basically, yeah. So he said that the squad is fine. We have some doubts. We had some issues during the week with Harry Maguire and Mason Mount. Knocks, but nothing serious. We will see tomorrow. Lucha is out. The rest is ready for the game. I think it's going to be like always, but it's going to be a very difficult game. I think Brighton is a team really fun to watch. They are really good on the build-up. They are really strong on transitions and in every aspect of the game. They're doing well in set pieces this season, so I think they're a team that is really complete, and we need to be really smart to face the game with a real focus on everything that we do, because they are a very strong team. Hertzler, his philosophy and the way he coaches that team, you can see by the way they play, really intense. The quality is there. They believe a lot on what they're doing, even under pressure. So I'm a huge fan of Fabian. So, is Luke Shaw out? No. In a nutshell, no. Luke Shaw is not injured, but Harry Maguire and Mason Mount are both injured. Let's have a little look. Even over 30, Bruno is definitely worth more than 60. I agree, and we will go through that. In fact, let me get through this little bit. I'll go to Bruno and then we can come back through the conference. Like Luke Shaw is at, call me surprised. I've got a really important question, if possible. Go on, Josh. Far away. What game is in the N64 in the background? At the moment, it is FIFA 98. FIFA 98 is in there. Yeah. Brighton have to be one of the most underrated teams out there. They have a great record against us in the past few years. Yes, they do. I wish I'd have printed out the scores, but I think we've in the last 7 games, I think we've won 1 or 2. We play Arsenal. We're 100% cooked. I don't know. I wouldn't say that too much. So look, when we talk and I'll talk about. So let's talk about this. So we've got some issues. So Harry Maguire and Mason Mount. Now, on the face of it, yes, we are talking about a game, and yes, it was a very, very intense game. But when we're looking at 2 players in Mason Mount and Maguire, now Maguire, we are looking at giving him a new contract. Now, yes, we can talk about one game, but Maguire is starting to pick up injuries, and this is my problem with. I don't mind giving Maguire another year, okay. But this is the whole point now of these players are picking up injuries. These players are playing 1 game a week, right? And Maguire is injured. Mason Mount. Now, I've seen today, and again, I don't know what people's opinions are on Mason Mount. I think he's a very, very divisive player. I've said I like Mason Mount. I think he's very, very good. But I will never understand why people get carried away about Mason Mount on the basis that you can't build a team around him. He comes in, he has maybe a good game or 2. I think that Mason Mount, and people have called Mason Mount the glue that holds this team together. I don't see it. I like Mason Mount. I think he's had some good games. I thought he was very, very quiet at Liverpool. I like the way that he presses. I get that. I'm not disputing that Mason Mount has talent. I think he's a very, very good player, but you can't. How can he be the glue when he doesn't stick right? I've seen people today talk about, and again, you give me your opinions on this. This is just my opinion on Mason Mount. Is that how can anybody build a team or future or plan around Mason Mount? I've been saying this since pre-season. I've been saying this at the start of the season. I like Mason Mount. But again, this is another injury. This may be a slight knock, but you cannot build a team around Mason Mount. So I think there are questions to be asked here. Nothing serious. That's what we were told the end of last season or whenever it was, and he's then out for 3 months. So I think with me, from Mason Mount, again, it's another knock, another injury. Just give me your opinions. I really want to know your opinions on this one. We're trying to build a team where we can go to the next game. one of the things to mention is we've got one game a week, just one game a week, and yet Mason Mount is slightly injured again. I mean, you got some shit on top of your head, lol. I don't know what you want me to do with that, mate. I mean, I have no idea. You see what we're saying? How we play against Arsenal. I think we need to destroy Arsenal. 3 games winless. Yeah. Maguire has given us some memorable moments, but if he's going to be mediocre for the rest of his time to move him on. Have 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think, when does sentimentality get in front of what's right for the team? Yes, Maguire is on 192,000. That salary will be decreased to like 100,000. But I'd rather take that 100,000 and spend it on another player. I'm sort of with you. Would I give him another year for depth in that squad? Yes. But if there's also an opportunity to get rid of Maguire, I mean, look, Maguire hasn't got a year, right? Maguire can walk away. So would I let him walk away? I don't know. I don't know. With Maguire, the thing with Maguire for me, is he more valuable on a lot less wages as backup rather than letting him go for free? Because if you to buy the same player, what you're spending 15, 20 million pounds. So I don't mind Maguire staying, but for me, the biggest point here again is Mason Mount. Mason Mount is out again. I see people talking about him like he's the next fucking Messiah, like Mason Mount is this amazing player. He's played reasonably well this season, but other than that, I really don't see the fascination with Mason Mount. I don't. I think he's a good player. I think he does some good stuff, but I think Mason Mount is a very ineffective player. I like him, and I said before, I like him. I think he's very, very good in a. When you put him in a box and give him a 3x3 square, a 2x2 square, and you sort of say to him, you play zonal in that box, and you can attack, you can just in that box, he's very, very good. But we all know he's going to get injured. So the fact that he's out is not a surprise to me. I think we should go back to 1-year contracts for over 30s. I agree with you, Josh. I said that in a couple of shows back. What I would like to see is, like with Giggsy, if it's good enough for Giggs, good enough for Scholesy, a 1-year contract. Booty boot mods, yeah, I think doesn't matter. Even if the mods are not on here today, I'll do that. It's easy peasy, lemon squeezy. It's the same as saying Peter Crouch has a good touch for a big man, or Makalele Carrick is an unsung hero. I get said so much, it becomes saying underrated becomes superfluous. Yeah, Mount carrying a knock isn't acceptable. If a player's getting injured with a schedule of 1 game a week isn't sustainable. Exactly, Liam, and I'm exactly with you. We've got 1 game a week, so what is it? A week on and a week off. Imagine if we had Champions League. Imagine if you had European football. Mason Mount has got the number 7 shirt. I mean, if Mount was that bad, why are Liverpool fans asking for? If Mount was that bad, why are Liverpool fans asking for Salah to be dropped? I don't get the point on that. I don't get the point. The two don't go hand in hand. Mason Mount wasn't so good that Salah was kept quiet by Mason Mount. I think Salah's got his own stuff. I think what people you can't. I don't think Mason Mount was so good in that game that Salah is going to be dropped. That's got nothing to do with it. But you can make up your own mind on Mason Mount. As I said, I've got my opinions. My opinion, that is not the end of this conversation. This is not how this channel works. I will read your viewpoint out. I will respect our viewpoint. The Salah thing for me is he was dropped the other night as well. So Mason Mount, the correlation between Mason Mount and Salah, the two are just not comparable. Rio Evra Vidic, we got rid of so much experience and leadership in a short period of time. I'm weary of our leadership squad, and still, if we let Maguire go. And Kiri, this is sort of my point, right? Is that I can deal with Maguire being injured more than I can with Mason Mount, right? I mean, Harry Maguire, as much as it is time to go, a Harry Maguire on a reduced salary on a rolling 1 year contract, I think is fine. I think, as Kiri said, for that experience, 100%. But my only caveat to that is if Harry Maguire is at present the epitome of our experience, of our team, I fear for us. If look, in terms of players who have adversity, Maguire, fine, he's come back. But mentality-wise, I mean, we used to have people, as we said there, Rio, Vidic, Evra, Robson, Keane, Pallister, Schmeichel, Irwin, Giggsy, Beckham, Rooney, Cristiano, and now we got Maguire, because Maguire used to be captain, and Maguire people said was shit, and now Maguire played through it, and Maguire's okay. I'm not calling anybody out. But if that's now our new standard of experience, I'm worried. I get it. Like, Maguire had a little bit of a tough time as a professional football player, but he came back and it was brilliant. But if that's a person we're now gonna have in our leadership team, after having the likes of Schmeichel, Beckham, Giggs, Scholes, Keane, Pallister, all these sorts of players, I worry. Our leadership group of our senior people is Luke Shaw, Fernandes, Maguire. It's fucking terrifying. It is terrifying. How many of those are winners? It scares the hell out of me. Let's have a little look. Liam says, Mason Mount, good player, effective on his day, but he's barely fit. And Liam, mate, you've knocked the nail on the head, Liam, as you always do, my friend. I think spot on. Mount has another knock. No surprise. I bet he's being paid a fortune. Looks like we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Mason Mount is a Poundland Owen Hargreaves, and I mean Poundland. Oh, Liam, I love it. We were spoiled in the 90s and thousands. Maguire being the top is definition of how mighty have fallen. Delict, a United Devil destroyed my guitar. Well, what can I say, mate? Buenos dias, senor Alex. Welcome, my friend. So the rest of that was Lucha is out for Lucha is out, ready for the game. Is not ready for the game. I think he's going to be like always, but it's going to be a very difficult game. I think Brighton is a fun team to watch. So Lucha is out again. So we were told, and this is one of the things I still despise about this club, is that Lucha, we were told, was going to be back by Brighton, Forest, potentially the Spurs game. That was never going to happen. I just never believed it. So I was hoping that Lucha would be back. I don't think he's going to be back now until after the next international break, and even then, I don't think he's going to be back until December. So I think when we're looking at Lucha, I think that we need to be prepared for Lucha. And if you think about it, by the time he comes back, by the time his body's used to playing these games again, I think Lucha is probably going to be one more so for 2026. So have a little look. Selwyn says, greetings from Cape Town. Selwyn, legend, my friend. Casa, Ugarte, Brenner all seems to be leaving at the end of the season, so we need 3 midfields. Basically, We also didn't replace Ericsson. We also need 2 wing backs and a striker. Selwyn, I don't disagree, mate. I don't disagree. I think you are probably spot on. I think we absolutely do need, at a minimum, 2 midfielders. And we do need a couple of right backs, and we do need a striker. DJ Dark Tonight says, algorithm has gone mad. All my favourite United channels gone, and they are sending life on the farm. Oh dear. YouTube is doing some weird stuff right now, mate. We shouldn't rush Martinez. He's looking down. He's locking down left centre back when he's fit. I hope so. Lucha has a setback. I don't think it is a setback, Liam. I just don't think he's ready, mate. I just don't think he's ready. I just don't think he's anywhere near fit, which concerns me, Liam. It concerns me. You know, one of the things that sorry, DJ says, I have to actively search for my favourite channels. What the hell's going on? Mate, YouTube does some weird stuff. I don't know, my friend. I think we dodged the bullet in Baleba. I don't know. I still like him. I still like him. I do. Let's get to the end of the season before that. Herb 1234, you could be right. You could be right. But let's see. You're joking. Lucha has a setback. Hopefully, are people still waiting on Lucha? Hopefully not the United stand. Brent sucks. So, Lucha, where are we on this one? So, there's no setback as such. He's just not ready. Now, one of the things that does concern me about him is that, again, I've said, and I can only say what I say, and people on here have said a very similar thing to me. My worry is Lucha's done. I don't see how having 2 injuries in 2 years and an ACL, people can come back from an ACL. At his age and what he does and brings to that team, it worries me he's taking so long to get back. How bad was the injury? And yes, they can be bad and you can come back and it takes a while. But this constantly, he's going to be back, then he's not. He's constantly going to be back and then he's not. Now, I totally agree that we don't bring him back until he's fully fit. But how fully fit can a player be? So I'm worried about him. My opinion is I think he could be done. But when I say done, I just mean he could come back. Is he going to be as intense as he was? I hope so. I hope that Lucha can come back. I don't think he's going to be the same player. I don't. I think his mind will be the same, but his body won't. And I think we have to look after his body. I don't think he's going to be a player who's going to be as intense in his 30s. I think he's going to hit a Luke Shaw type of deal when he's 30, and just he's just going to lose that. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. But one of the things, the 2 things I wanted to happen this year is I want Mason Mount to start playing well and not get injured as much, and Lucha to come back and play well. If that happens, I would sell them both. Give me your opinions. Would you sell Martinez when he comes back? If Martinez can come back to any sort of degree of level that he was, would you sell him? Interested to know that. Oh, sorry, I misheard. I thought you saying Lucha won't be playing till the new year. Oh, yeah, okay. Anyway, I'm going Shaw, Delict, Euro back 3 tomorrow. Fun fact, Lucha hasn't had a run of consistency since the start of 2023. And you've just basically summed up exactly what I've just said there, my friend. Why is United fan, good evening, is this the Mount we are talking about? So we're just talking about Lucha, but Mason Mount is out again. It's not serious. It's a knock, apparently. But how many times has Mason Mount had a knock? And on the basis that we're talking, we have 1 game a week. We've got 1 game per week, and Mason Mount is out with a knock. Bro, what is your opinion on Iran? I don't have one. I can't. I'm not going to have one. He had a run of 23 games in 3 years. That's a very fair point. Bear in mind, he's 5'9", who thrived on aggression and leap. Exactly, and that's my worry. That is my worry about Lucha. It is that intensity still going to be there? Is he going to be told to look after his body in a certain way? I don't know. So I think that Lucha is one that people are hoping. The problem is we're hoping for these players to come back, and I just don't see it. I don't. Time to get some new players at the back. Lewandowski to United or return of Rashford. Neither, to be honest with you. If Rashford came back, right, and Rashford loved this club, and Rashford was prepared to play as a number 10, or Rashford would have to play as a wing back, because we don't deploy. Rashford is not a 10 and he's not a striker. The only position that Rashford could play is a wing back, and he's never playing that at all. Lewandowski, for me, would I sign him? I'd sign him on two factors. Number one, his wage would have to be low. I think he thinks he would be coming here for a payday, like a Zlatan, a Falcao, Cavani. I think his team are starting to put the feelers out there. I think he's looking for a payday. He's going to want north of 190k. Not for me. He would have to come in on the proviso that he's second fiddle. And if he's okay to be second fiddle, and if he's okay to come in and teach Obi, I'd happily have him here on 120k a week, teaching Obi, teaching Shesko. I'd love that. But it'd have to be a certain scenario for me, for Lewandowski to work. 37 years old, just coming into the Premier League. There are certain circumstances that I would bring him and have him at this club. I think his experience to the strikers, I think his work ethic, and I think his standards would bring up the club, but it would have to be the right price, and he would have to know exactly why he's here. I would possibly loan Martinez out. I think that if we can't sell him, then I would do that, but I don't know. I'm hoping that Amorim can be just as ruthless as Fergie used to be. I hope Ruben is smart enough to move players such as Lucha and Mount on, as they're not going to get any better with regards to injuries. Martinez has had such a bad injury. I fear he will. I agree with you, and that's worse. To fear going in for a tackle is worse. To hesitate is worse than going in for, I think, a bad one. Rashi says he wants to stay. What, Barcelona? If so, then yeah. Who's going to buy a 5'9" centre back from us? Thought we'll be lucky to lucky to pack the crisps for him. You're right. I mean, if he goes somewhere, he'd have to be a defensive midfielder. I know he does it for Argentina, so I think he'd have to step in and do that. Liam, I think he makes some good points. Never happened. He's lost the fans. Scott said good. Got some good walks out again. Scotty B. Get him as a Zlatan. Chris Blaze says Rashford could never lead a line at any top club. He should be used as an impact sub at max. And Chris, I don't disagree. I think Rashford would disagree with you. I think Rashford's ego would disagree with you. You're right. He can never lead a line. He could be an impact sub, or he could play at like an Aston Villa. So Barcelona, he's doing okay there. He's not leading the line, but at least he's playing some stuff. So I think Rashford on that left hand side for most other clubs, for a Barcelona, for you could argue like an AC Milan, Napoli. I don't know what system that they play. Anything other than a top flight leading the sort of line. Martinez was the butcher, but now I think he's been butchered. To be honest, I think Haaland sucks. Does Haaland suck? No. as a player, is Haaland a good player in terms of anything else other than what he does? Probably not the best. Haaland knows what he is. Haaland is a specialist. Haaland is an absolute specialist at what he does, and he's one of the best in the world. And the scary thing about Haaland is that he can get better. Justice Haaland sucks. That's the worst take of the day. Congratulations on having Rashford back due to the sentimental reason, but this means Ruben is gone. I don't mind that. Interesting opinion, Liam. Are you not a little happy that they are not rushing Lucha in? They probably see this as a make or break with injuries. Give him time and strength to fully recover. I am Kiwi. I see this as a negative and positive thing. So for me, negative is taking him so long to get back. The positive thing here is that they are taking their time. But with that comes the fact that if you think about it, why is it taking him so long to come back? Yes, you can be precautionary completely, but is the injury so bad that they're going to have to manage him? So are we going to be managing Luke Shaw, Mason Mount, and Lucha's game time? Are we going to be managing 3 players' game times? What are we becoming? Like an OAP home for injured players? Could I just break the narrative? Why has United recruited all of City's backroom staff that snuck in through the back door? Because Will Cox, Omar Barada. That's why. That's why. Because they obviously think that the City are the model to follow. Whether I agree with that or you agree with that, the Football Insight do, and I think that's probably a mistake. Is that yes, you can use clubs as a template, but then you go and do your own thing. That's a good point. Rashi is getting the goals at Barca more than what he did at United. I think, and this is no disrespects, I think the Spanish league is easier. But then again, to be fair, the Champions League is, whatever you think about the quality in the Champions League, you can argue he still scored against some, he still scored against the Geordies. So, Rashford in the right team, the right discipline, is a good player. There is no doubt. There is no doubt that he is a fantastic player. He just needs to be in the right environment with the right position and the right coach and the right team, and he will thrive. What are we doing? Rash is getting, he is. Would love to see Keno interview Haaland and Sky. I think Keno called him a League Two player, didn't he? Hope, Blakey, hope you're all good, mate. I am, thank you. Prediction versus our bogey team tomorrow. Can you see a consistent run with the next few games? Blakey, I'm going for a hard 2-1 win. And Wise, I said something along those lines as well. I think tomorrow we win 3-1. I think we're going to have a hard fought. Maybe it's a hard fought, maybe a flattering win tomorrow, but I do think that we win 2-3-1 tomorrow. Now, I normally, after the last couple of weeks, would be less like, maybe it's going to be a draw, but I've got to give them the benefit of the doubt to keep up. I more so want to give the positivity and give the players a benefit of the doubt on the basis that I want them all to do well and we need to win. So I think that I'm hoping and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and suggest that this win is going to be the catalyst for something. If it's not, tomorrow, if Liverpool away, winning after 10 years, cannot give you the kick up the arse that you need and inspire them to do well, then it's not looking good. And then can we go on a run? I think we can. I think we can. I think we can win tomorrow, go away to Forest and win, and then draw against Spurs. And then I think then after that, then we can then start to really look at I'm not saying Champions League, but then we can start to plan Christmas. Let's get through that. And then if we go into the new year in touch and distance of top 4, then I think we then have to have a conversation about what we can do. DJ says, I'm going for a 4-1 United as long as someone sparks Danny Welbeck. I love it. My thing is, let's look at Rasmus. Do we have to sell to Napoli? The boy's looking like the player we bought 2 years ago. I don't think we have to, but Rasmus and Šeško doesn't work. You just don't get to them in that team, Liam. I like Rasmus. I do. I will hold my hands up to a certain degree with him and say that were we potentially using him in the wrong way? Yes. It's difficult. I think we failed Rasmus Højlund. I think Rasmus Højlund was, towards the end, I think Rasmus Højlund had PTSD. Now, the fact that these players, there's so many rumours about how they didn't want to pass to him, how they didn't do, certain things. And I think we failed him. I think him coming back to this club would be a mistake. I would want him back. I don't think he comes back. He can't. We're not going to have 2 number 1 strikers. And I would say, for Rasmus's sake, stay where you are. You've had your fingers burnt coming here. Go and stay where you are, because I think that suits you better. Until this club is purged of these owners, it's still going to be a toxic place. So whilst I agree with you, Liam, if I was Rasmus, I would stay. Alsreen says, good morning. We have to score in the first 15 minutes. I'm hoping we can get second before half time. One more win, we're in the top 4. Manchester United are forever in my heart. Good, I hope so. Just started seeing this girl who's vegan. She's also my mate's second cousin on his dad's side. Is this too close to home? No. As long as she ain't your cousin, then you'll find a reef. As long as she's not your cousin, and look, it's your mate's second cousin, so it's your mate's cousin's child. So no, you're fine. As long as it's not your cousin. I mean, can you date your first cousin? I think you can these days, can't you? So yeah, as long as it's not your cousin and it's your mate's cousin, then you're perfectly fine. And as long as obviously she's of legal age, then it's all good. I just hope that Brighton doesn't score first. Well, Liverpool equalised. I think we're going to be tested. I do. Blake says, early goal will defo ramp up the pressure as we normally fall behind against them. I'm so happy for Rasmus. Me too. I think Mbeumo, possibly Cunha, will break his duck. I hope so. Anthony is also happy where he is too. Wise, I respect the opinion. I couldn't give a shit. Not about your opinion, about Anthony. I mean, I'm glad he's happy, but Rasmus for me is different. Anthony went on strike. Anthony was behaving like a little bitch. Anthony was doing all this stuff. Good, but Rasmus for me is the one that I'm so pleased he's doing well, because he didn't want to go. He wanted to stay and fight. The pre-season, as much as I didn't think he was amazingly great, you could see he was itching to do something. And I always said Rasmus' problem was he was always a second behind the Prem defenders. This is really fair point. Regards, Rasmus and Šeško. Matthias still at Azir. Love it, mate. Love it. Thanks, mate. That's not even banter, is it, mate? That's just an insult. I don't know what you want me to do with that comment, mate. Where are we going here? I'm also happy for Rasmus. Pretty much the only one who got his head down. People came in to be, exactly. Look, Josh, people do that on here all of the time. They get a bit bored, and then they, I do let the chat deal with plonkers like that. We need to come out of the traps quickly. What about the other Anthony Martial. I think the key question is if we play like we did against Liverpool, will it prevent you? Well, it should do, mate. Do you know the funny thing is though, is that I can quite easily find out your channel, find out like who you are, and report you to the police. So continue, because it's a piece of piss to trace you. I work in IT, so just continue as you are. Yeah, I thought so. So Matthias has just shit his pants. So Fez Nutrition said you said that you want please for Anthony Santos. No. Rashford should get back in the England squad if he continues his form to the end of the season, not just a purple patch. Rashford is back in the England squad, Harif. I just don't know, will he stay there? I hope Martial is doing well. Yeah, I like Anthony Martial. He's not doing well. I don't know where he's playing now. I'd have to look it up. I think he was playing for some Swedish team or something. Just get yourself some mods in. No need to even hear it. I mean, I do have mods normally. But yeah. Destiny Supermarket Rashford is going to be back. Define back. Is he going to be back at this club? No. Is he going to be back in terms of look, Rashford? This is my opinion. Before I will get through some more of this stuff. When we're talking about Rashford being back, what was Rashford to begin with? And what I mean is that, are we talking about like if, for example, Harry Kane had a really bad season, right? After, let's just say last season he had an awful season, and then this season he's come back, he's got 20 goals in 12 games, then you could say Harry Kane's back. But what's Rashford back to? That is my question here. Is people keep going, Rashford's going to come back, he's back, but what's he back to? Rashford was never, he had one good season. He was never that player. And that's what confuses me. And even when he had that season where he scored like 20 odd goals, he wasn't great at the sort of end of that season. So the question I guess I'm asking is, when we're talking about Rashford being back, what is he going back to? Because as far as I'm concerned, he was a player that showed glimpses, but he was never a consistent world-class performer or a consistent player. So with Dyche at the helm, Forest, I think we see a different Forest. We do. Will Forest be a different animal? I do. Oh, sorry, Josh. It was Greek. Do I think there'll be a different animal? I do. He's Mexico last time I heard. Don't mention, as I was on about these hockey comments. Mummy Council, hi, no way. Marshall's AAK Athens, 19 games, 7 goals, 1 assist. That's not bad. So, next question. The next question was, how do you balance the need to forget the Liverpool game whilst also maintaining, building the momentum from it? What's your prediction versus Brighton? My prediction is 3-1 as well. So that's funny because mine's 3-1 as well. I think it's going to be a 3-1. I think it's going to be a 3-1, maybe a flattering win, but I think it's going to be a 3-1. So basically, the next question in the conference was basically asked, how do we get over the game? So Aaron said, yeah, we used the good spirit of winning games. We know that was a good weekend for us, but our focus is on the next game. This is in the past, and we need to understand that football changed a lot, especially in this kind of club. So we are not thinking in the last game. We're thinking on this game. It's going to be really hard to win. I love that. I love it. I bet that guy will get his hair cut. I think he said that United have to win 5 games on on the bounce to get his haircut. If I was him, I'd bring that down to maybe 4. So you sort of never know. But I like that from Amorim. I like what he said, that that's basically the past is in the past. He never mentioned about how we were great in that game. He never mentioned about us being this amazing team. He basically he just said the spirit was good. There was no reference to how some of these plays were amazing. There was no reference to how good and amazing that they played. It was basically that game is now done and dusted. That game is in the past. We can be proud, but we now have to absolutely play better. Rashford had been poorly managed. His terrible people look after him. I hold on to Hungary. Rashford had 4 out of 8 good seasons. It become cool to mock him post. No, I think when you say good seasons, I think Rashford has had 2 good seasons. The season that he scored all of those goals, for the last 3 to 4 months, but he basically fell off a cliff. And that's what Rashford does. So what I mean, and I'll be completely open in my opinion on this, Liam, is that you watch football in a different way, right? So do I. I'm not saying that Rashford has been terrible for those 8 years, but I'm not having that Rashford, and this is my opinion and that's yours, I'm not having that Rashford has been good for 50% of his time here. He hasn't. He's had two seasons where he's been good, and then the other seasons where he's been okay, he's okay in clusters. He'll be good for 8 games and then not good for another 8 games, and then he'll be good for 6 games and then not good for 6 games. He's had 2 good full seasons, and then in the other 6, maybe in those 2 he's had patches. But what I mean is that you can't tell me, right, that, for example, Salah, right? Salah consistently for his time, 8 or 9 years, he has been a fantastic player, right? This season, for the first time because of his age, possibly, he's dipped. Rashford has never had 3 seasons, for example. Let's just say he's been here for 8 seasons, right? He's never had a consistent 3 seasons, right? Been brilliant for 3 seasons, dropped off for 6 months, and then come back, right? He's never done that. So I respect the opinion, and I will respect if that's what you think about him. I'm not calling him, I've never called him a terrible player. I don't think he's a terrible player, but I also don't believe the rhetoric of he's either a terrible player, that's this awful player, because I don't think he is. I also don't believe the rhetoric that Rashford has been this amazing player. He's not been good for 4 seasons, Matt. I disagree with that. He's been good for 2 seasons, and then he's been okay for another 2 seasons, for maybe like a half a season. So I would say in his time here, he's been inconsistently good, and that's putting it at his best. Has he been a threat? Of course he has. His pace has been an absolute threat. But Rashford for me gets more praise for the work that he does and the books that he writes. And I think sometimes that overtakes what he is on the pitch. Do you think we will get Maguire extension? Possibly. I think he gets one. 2, I'm trying to be optimistic, but if Brighton... but to go back to the Maguire extension, there is a little bit of work on it. So Maguire's on about 192,000 at the moment, and this contract would be a brand new contract. I think there's talk that Maguire wants at least a 3-year deal on like 120k. Look, it's not something that I would want to do. I don't know if the club would want to do it. I would give him a year's rolling contract like we used to do with Scholesy and Giggs and those sorts of people. I think if we do a deal, I think it'll be a 2-year deal, possibly at like 100k a week. Am I up for that? No, but that's sort of, I think, what the club way do. 2-1 trying to be optimistic, but if Brighton sit in and hit us on the break, I fear for us. Bring Anthony and Lingard back. Jesus Christ. Who would leave Barca for True? What's your take on the British media outlets saying that this side is the worst they've seen since 1970s relegation? Your hair reminds me of Goldbridge's. His hairline is better than mine, to be fair. He's got thicker hair than me. Mine's just grey. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. How this team, look, at the beginning, we're 8 games into a season, right? We're like halfway through half of a season, right? You know, is this the worst team that I've seen? Last season's team was. We've added to that team this season, and I think we're slightly better than we were last season for a couple of reasons. I think our personnel is still not great. I wasn't around in the 70s. Maybe I look a lot older than what I am. I wasn't around then, so I can't say that. But do I think that we are as bad as those? I'm going to say no. Do I think that some of the personalities that we've got and the way they bottle certain games, and we're going to find that out tomorrow, are they the worst side? I think there's a debate. I think we have to wait, and this is the thing, right? About having early opinions. That's the danger of it. Is that this Premier League can turn so quick. I guarantee you tomorrow, if Brighton smash us up tomorrow, then the talk will be back on we are the worst team ever. Amorim's shit. These players are shit. Instead of being consistent, people will flip-flop between the two. I don't know how many people in the media outlets now were fucking alive in 1970s. So I'll temper it and say, do I think that this is one of the worst teams that we've ever had? It was last season because of the way I think how I would rephrase it for me is I would say the club is in the worst state it was since the 70s. I think that's how I would phrase it, because I think some of these players are fantastic players. I just think the club is run. I think the state that the club is in is probably the worst it's ever been in. So I would probably phrase it on the basis that the club is as worse as it's ever been. The 30 goal season Rooney did it season, and that is exactly my point. That is exactly my point. I agree, but tell me a winger who doesn't have patches. Salah was a winger. But I'm not disagreeing with your opinion. If you believe that Rashford has been great for 4 out of 8 years, I'm not going to disagree with you, because if that's your guy, if that's what you think, I agree. But Robin had patches, but again, I think he was consistent. Ribery was the same. Those two players were the same. I'd even argue Giggsy to a certain point. 20 years. You can argue towards the end he moved to the midfield position. Mahrez, I think he was a winger, wasn't he? Just trying to think of others. But I'd argue some of the better wingers in the world, like those, were more consistent, other than injury-wise. I think what did Rashford towards the end of the couple of years was the mentality. I think Rashford had those seasons when he was younger, where he was a youth player, so you're expecting those seasons when he's up and down, right? And then I think you could see at that point where he had the first season where he was really, really good. And then you can then see towards the end, like the COVID years, maybe just where ego started to impact his game. Um, I will always say this about him: is nothing about ability, because on his day Rashford was unplayable, and I'm not one of these people who's like Rashford needs to go, because I think he's a talented player. I think Rashford needed to go for himself, for his own career. I don't think what let Rashford down was the talent. I think what let him down was the club. I think the club let him down as well, because as it's been proven time and time and time again, this place is not a place for players like him to flourish. And I don't think he sort of helped himself. I think the fact that the rumours that he was out and about in clubs in Ireland when he was out there. So I think that what for me impacted him and the seasons towards the back end the last couple of years was a couple of things. I think it was the attitude and not ability. Rashford is one of those players that I want to see do well. I've got nothing bad to say about him. I think he's a very talented player who still has a lot to offer. And I really, really hope he does do it. Do you think Maguire will get an extension? I've answered that one. Rashford fan. I'm not a Rashford fan as such. I when you see a youth player who's come through, done well, but needs to go for whatever reason, I think he should go. It doesn't mean I don't like him, doesn't mean I'm necessarily a fan. I just think there are some players and people as a human being would benefit a move as well. We like to buy Munich. Salah is, but if the buy is Salah, then let's look at hundreds of other inside forwards. I'm not saying that you can't pick and choose. You said name a winger, right? I am not using Salah is not the bar. No, Salah is the bar to where you want to aspire to be. But Liam, you can't pick and choose. You can't say give me a winger or give me a player, but it has to only be from this level of player. If you're asking me that and you're saying to me, well, actually, no, you can't pick and choose. But Liam, you can't pick and choose, mate. You can't say, give me a winger who's consistent. Well, Rashford wants to be at that level. Rashford thinks, or at one point thought he was at that level. The media was portraying him at that level. Rashford was a £100 million player at that level. He's just never got to that level. So when you ask me about wingers who've got to that level, and I'm telling you wingers, and you don't like the comparison, you can't then say, well, actually, no, what I want to do is I want to adjust the level down because I think Rashford is a level down. But, what are we saying then? Are we saying that, Rashford apparently was this great player for 4 out of 8 seasons, but not as good as Salah, even though Salah, you asked me about a winger who is as consistent, Salah. So you can't pick and choose. Surely no player can go through 3 seasons absolutely perfect. No, yeah, but I'm not asking for 3 seasons of like the best player or has to be the perfect player. But Rashford's consistency, we're talking, you can be right. If you're looking at like a lifespan of 5 years as a player, right, you're going to dip in form. Doesn't matter if it's form, it doesn't matter if it's injury. At some point, you are going to fall off, right? So I expect your arc to be like ups and downs, right? So it'd be up and down, a little bit up, but relatively consistent. Rashford, by this media, by this club, was lauded as basically the next world-class player, right? And that's not me, right? But Rashford did that. Was consistent for a bit, up, down, up, down. There was a conversation to be had about him towards the end of this towards the end when he stops football, right? But Rashford for me is that, and again, don't necessarily want to get into that chat because Rashford isn't here anymore and he's not a player. He's gone. But I think people either like Rashford, people rate Rashford, people don't. I wish Rashford the best, and I hope that Rashford goes and achieves everything he wants to achieve. I've got no problem, but I'm not going to look at it with hindsight and go, "Oh, Rashford was this amazing, consistent player," because he wasn't. Rashford says, if you look at the seasons he had at United, he was okay. Yeah, and I agree. Rashford for me was an okay player. I thought he was an okay player. I don't think he was world class. He had world class moments, but I thought he's a good player. He was. I will never dispute that Rashford for us was a good player. He was a very good player, but he's not the player that I think some people lead you to believe he was. The club gave him a 300k contract based on one good season. Agent demands there is self-entitlement here. Does anyone honestly put Rashford in the World Cup 11? No, I don't. David says Rashford is the English Garnacho. Your hair reminds me of Goldbridge, maybe Salah with his millions is thinking of his old age. Rashford has one book published, so I'm confused about what you're saying about books that he writes. Mate, he's written about 4 or 5 books. Like, look, Liam, clearly you're a Rashford fan. I get it. Right? I get it completely. Right? But whether you like it or not, Rashford transitioned or was trying to transitioned away from football into books, into meals from schools. And Liam, I'm not going to keep talking about him all night because this is not the Rashford show. He doesn't play here, and he's not about to play here. And I do get the point. But his head was turned, and if that doesn't suit what you're saying, and if that doesn't suit the rhetoric that you've built for this player, because it's a player that you like, whether you like it or not, there are instances of Rashford, whether or not it is because of a book or whether it is or not because of the stuff he does behind the scenes that impacts him. There are things that Rashford did or does behind the scenes away from football, in my opinion, and as I say, this is about opinion, that impacted him on the pitch. So there is a series of books or things that Rashford has done outside that's impacted him, but that's Rashford. He's gone. I'm not concerned now, but if a pro sadly comes in and offers the right amount, then Maguire will go. He would be foolish to turn it down. There was a bit on that he doesn't want to quite go there just yet. I don't know if he's holding hope that he'll still go to the World Cup. I don't think he will, but let's see. Please take back Garnacho 2. He's too good for us at Chelsea. No, you can keep him. The team Fergie took over was awful. Yeah, the team that he took over was a bunch of drinkers. Didn't train quite right, so you're right on that one. No worries now, lads. We are Watford long ball. When Ten Hag first joined the club, I had my doubts, but we won 2 trophies. Ruben has shown enough to be patient. Look at Arteta now, the squad he's building. The manager's running things high. I'm in Japan. Hello, my friend. The dog's bollocks. We want dribbling. We want shots and goals from impossible angles. Most of all, we want Fergie time. Normal service resumes. It does tomorrow. Biggs Ron side was poor. He was around the 70s. JB, on what you have mentioned about top 10 being a good season, if we if we win the next 2 games, do you change your mind about making top 6? No, we're going to have to get halfway through a season first, right? So let me give you an example as to why I'm still top 10. Last season we finished 15th, right? 15th, 16th last season. We were awful. We were terrible. We've been toxic for many, many years. The season, we've still got a lot of those players here. And to get from, just logically, there aren't many teams that it's happened to, but to get from 15th to 6th place is huge. We've been very, very inconsistent this season, even though I back the coach and I've backed him enough. I need to see consistency. So what happens if I say to Dino, okay, yeah, I'll back this club for top 6 based on the next 2 games, right? Then what happens if we get to Christmas and we lose the next 6? So I am with Amorim until the end of the season. I want to support this manager and give him as much time. But I'm also not going to be fooled, mate. I'm not going to be fooled. If we get to Christmas and we are within, and maybe we'll lose a couple of games. But if we get to Christmas and we're still in up there round, in and around that between 4 and 8, then I'll start to think it. But we've got to have at least another 8 games. We've got to get. We don't even need to necessarily be halfway through the season. But I think as long as we've got to get through at least another 8 games, and then once we've got that, then possibly. But until we win an amount of games on the trot, then I'm not going to change my mind. I am starting to be swayed. If we can start to build something up, then maybe we can shift forward. But tomorrow, I think tomorrow's game is Liverpool's game was one of those games where it was almost a free hit. I think tomorrow is the one. I think tomorrow is going to show you a lot about this team. And that's why I'm not saying even if we win the next 2 games, we're top 6. We need to show some more. So if we get to Spurs, we win Spurs, so that's 3 games. That'll be 5 games on the bounce. We come back, we win the next game. Then that's a conversation again to be had there. But for me, we need to get at least another 8 games. He's got to get us playing well on the front foot against smaller clubs. If we get beat tomorrow, then it's back to square one. Exactly that. Exactly that. We need. I don't mind 2 steps. I don't mind 3 steps forward and 1 step back. But what we can't have is 3 steps forward and 4 steps back. Last season, Onana was conceding at left, right, and centre. We couldn't score enough goals. Have a sensible keeper to make a world of difference. You can't compare Mahrez to Rashford. Liam, I'm not, mate. I'm not. Rashford, mate. I look. The opinion is there. You clearly are a supporter, mate. I'm not talking about him anymore because this is not the Rashford show. He's done and dusted in terms of us. He's not coming back. So, wonder how many goals Onana will concede in the World Cup. Let's have a little look. Russian, Martial were lethal when they were both on form. Exactly. Martial, I thought when he was here, I mean he was here for a bloody long time. What a player! What a player! But again, inconsistent. But what makes me laugh, and I will say this, right, is that there's a rhetoric around Rashford being this great player for a couple of seasons when he was inconsistent, but Martial just gets called shit. Like Martial was just, he was just injured or he just weren't great. Like Martial, I'd argue, and I'm not the same position, but when you're looking at 2 players, I think they were very, very similar in their careers in terms of what they did here. But Rashford, some people just like, oh, he was the best thing, and he was great for 4 or 5 seasons, and this and that. Rashford showed glimpses of being great. Martial did. You look at that very first goal that he scored, unreal. Rashford on his day, yes, but wasn't playable. But at the end of those days, when we're non-existent, exactly that. Is Isaac a flop in Liverpool? No, he's not. No. Even if Isaac didn't score for 10 games, is he a flop? No, he's not. I must have not explained correctly. That is fair. Salah will be in Saudi, but Isaac has played many games and underperformed like Ekitike. Isaac's been injured a bit, but Isaac's not a flop. Even Haaland could have a bad season, and I'm counting on it. Rashi is Marmite. I agree. I don't know your name, but it's channel owner. This is very fair. It's JB. I think Haaland will drop. He's more than good. What kit is that, mate? That's the green one. I can't remember what season that's from. Is that 2 seasons ago, I think? I'd have Ekitike in. Isaac hasn't had a pre-season time to settle in a team. At the moment, doesn't seem to know what he wants to be. Chat is winding this guy's Rashford thing. No. Anyone know what that kit is about Rashford and a bacon butty? Is there any... I don't even know what the hell that is. There must be... I don't know, mate. Anyone know that kit that is, please? I bet Rashford... I don't even know what that is. Alice through the looking glass. Rashford didn't... I don't even know what he was saying, mate. My friend, am I not... I'm bemused as to why you think I believe. I don't think a player had 50% Premier League rates like a guy. But I'm bemused as to why you think I believe that. I don't think a player that had a 50% Premier League rate. Seems like I love that guy. I think he was good for us. That's all. Look, I'm just reading. Look, I can only read what you put, and I can only interpret and put context because there is no context, Liam. As per usual, Liam, I love the comments that you make, my friend. I think it really does spark off debate. I'm not disagreeing with him. I think that Rashford was a good player. At no point have I said that Rashford wasn't a good player. I think Rashford is a good player. I think Rashford was a good player. And I just hope that Rashford can get to the levels that that he wants to get to. I love middle-aged men, white drinking men. I'm mixed race. I love middle-aged white drinking men. Okay. Interesting. 15th lol. Liverpool FC. Are you just not getting the attention that you crave, my friend? Liverpool FC. All I can say is you lost 2-1 to us. So I'll happily give you attention if that's what you're after. We finished 15th and we were awful last season. Terrible, but we just beat you. So. I think I'd probably say I'd be more embarrassed to be in your position than ours, and I wouldn't come on a channel like this where you've just lost 2-1 at home to apparently a club that's finished and apparently a club that's going to go down. So do you think Bruno Fernandes is helping United the day he joined this club? No. I'm not blaming it on him. I've got my strong opinions on Fernandes, but that's more based on the position now. Fernandes has been a fantastic player. Fernandes is not the problem of this club. It's not. He's not. The problem of this club is the Glazers. We can beat big sides, not usually with ease. We tend to slip up against the lesser teams. I'm hoping Brighton our curse ends tomorrow. I hope so. Back the coach. Are you talking about slot? I mean, you have 1 win in 5, 4 on the bounce lost, and then lost to us. I mean, are you referring to us, or are you talking about slot? It's Bruno's 300 game tomorrow. Hope he can crown it. Yeah, look, I hope Bruno has a fantastic game tomorrow. Why don't you get a job on Sky? Because I'm not good enough for Sky. I don't get, because I'm just some guy who's passionate about his club. Yeah, that's it, my friend. Would you sell Bruno? Traveller Mac? Would I sell Bruno? I would sell Bruno, but it would have to be. Would I sell him? Yes, I would, but it would have to be to build the club. I wouldn't just sell him. Whatever I think about him, would I sell him? Yes, I would. But there's no point in selling him if all we're going to do is pocket the money. And I will come on to that. So really quickly, there's a release clause in his contract, apparently, for £56.86 million to a non-Premier League team. So basically, if Bayern Munich come in and offer us that money and activate that clause, then there's nothing that we can do. Now, bearing in mind, Saudi apparently came in with a £90 million bid for him summertime. He turned it down. We turned it down. It actually transpires that there's a £56.86 million release clause in his contract that can be activated by any European club. Fucking ridiculous. As much as I have my opinions on him, what a ridiculous low price to set for a player who is so intrinsic to this side, who's so important, who's right now, whatever you think about him, he is basically the fabric of this club, and to lose him for that amount of money would be devastating. So I just want you to bear that in mind when we're talking about him and we're going to sell him. There has to be a replacement, not a replacement for him, but there has to be the right amount of money to be able to reinvest in this squad. Big question, will the lad be cutting his hair this season? Dino, that is the question. If he is, then it basically means that we're going to have a good season. What do you think the score will be in the El Clasico? I don't know, mate. I think Barcelona will win. I think they'll win it. Well, it depends on... I don't know where it is. I think Barcelona will win it. Elijah said, United are the team for me. Carmine says, hey, you say hello to my uncle. He coaches, yeah. Hello, your uncle, Carl. That was a good try, Carl. Do you think Barcelona will buy out Rashford? I think so. My brother's still talking about Rashford. I'm sorry again. Would you like to bring Rashford back to Barcelona? Look, there'd be nothing. I would love it, and I'm going to say the last thing here. Rashford, I would love it. I'd love if he came back to this club, came back and became a world-class player, because he's from Manchester, local lad, from where he's come from, the poverty that he's been from, the stuff he's given back, and all that stuff. Brilliant. I'd love him then to round all that off as the cherry on the cake, to come back to this club and be the star and the pin-up boy and do everything with this club and win a league, like in this club, a Champions League. I'd love all that. But it's just not going to happen. Does anyone play for England anymore? I don't know. Bro, it's you and your Rashford chat. It's all got us depressed. Yeah. So far, our only match that we would like to forget the season and hate to say is the Grimsby game, mate. I took Pelton on that one. Let's change the narrative. Your back three, mine, Shaw, Delict, and Yoro. mine would be I'd go Mazraoui, De Ligt, and Euro. You remind me. Mummy says hi. If we could have someone who is worthy of the captain's armband, then I would sell Bruno. I would sell Bruno depending on the fee. I agree, Liam. Shesko is mental. Okay. Bruno's worth at least 90 to 100 million. Belaber is not that replacement. No, he's not. He's something completely different. Hugo says hello. Barcelona is an injury crisis. Someone will trigger that clause. I think we could have got 100 million. 56 mil for a captain and the most important player in the squad is mental. That's crazy. Is that in his contract? Yes, Liam, it is. That's been confirmed. It's been confirmed. It's 65 million euros, which when factored in is about 56.86 million pounds. Liam, I agree with you. I think it is. I think it's ridiculously low. I don't. If somebody can explain to me this, if there's a release clause in Bruno's contract, right, and it's 56 mil, 57 mil, that can be activated at any time, why would you then not take 100 million pounds for him, whether he wants to go or not? And he's basically said this himself. If they wanted me to go, I'd go. Fucking sell Fernandes for 100 million pounds. Go and do it. So let's see. That shirts remind me of a triple vodka and 2 of these shirts, please. Trent versus Rashford. I'm not getting back on the Rashford train. Yeah, let's try and forget the Grimsby game. Someone will mention Rashford, then off we go again. No. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. If we sell Bruno at a reasonable price, then why not use the cash for a midfielder? And that's exactly what I've got really strong opinions on him. But when he's on form, that pass that he did for the winning goal was world class. All right. Put him in that number 10 position. And I do think Bruno is starting to change. His mindset is starting to change. He's still petulant. He still fucking winds me up. But you play him in that 10 and he's brilliant. So it's... Can you talk about Lamens? He's had a good few games. If we sell Bruno at a reasonable cost. So I will. Let's talk about that. And then I just want to get through the presser stuff and then we can say goodnight. Lamens for me... Look, it's too early for people to start calling him the next Schmeichel, right? The baby Courtois and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know what your opinions are on this. But sometimes you can just see a player and just go, they're good. It could just be the way they run with the ball. It could be the way that they are with the ball at their feet. It could be the way that they move their body. It could just be the presence. And you just know that they're a good player. I get that with Lamens. The way that these players respond to him, the way that these defenders who have been here for longer than he has respond to him, the way he positions his body, the way that he came up for a cross. And there was a moment in the Liverpool game where he jumped for a cross and the ball was behind him a bit and he kind of moved his arms and kind of had to stretch back. Now, if that was a Nana, he would have punched it into his own net. You can just tell. Whether or not he's going to progress and be one of the league's best keepers, early doors you can see that he's got a bit of class about him. You can just see. The fact Lamens went to Anfield, right? Was it Isaac had that shot? He saved it with his legs. Come out for he came out for balls. His positioning was great. Like, just if you can do that in one of the biggest games for the seasons, I mean, that's your hardest game of the season, right? Surely. So I think Lamens is I'm struggling to keep the praise down because I don't want to praise people too much too soon. But I'm very excited about him. I'm trying to temper my excitement because I think he's brilliant. I do. I think he's he's gonna be a good player. Bruno's 300th game will be. Look, I'm hoping tomorrow, Bruno. I'll be supporting him tomorrow. 300th game, and I hope he smashes it. Lemens is doing good, but again, hearing other channels comparing him to Alisson and Edison is just silly. The lads, I mean, look, people do it for clicks. People comparing this keeper, saying, they'll talk about stats in like the first or second games. It's bollocks. It literally is just for clicks. Leave the lad settle in, and he will be what he can be. He's had a brilliant start. He's had a fantastic start. Who would have thought? Look, who would have thought the goalkeepers that we started with, and when I marked the calendar, Liverpool was the game. I would never have thought in a million years we would have had a keeper that we bought for 20 million come in and start that game and have an amazing game at 22 years old. I mean, that's brilliant. So could you get Gittins, Madueke, Garnacho for roughly the Bruno price? Interesting. I would have liked to have gotten what's his bloody name? Quenda. I think Quenda. I'm impressed with Lemens right now. Not spots off Biinda. McAllister missed his swimming lessons. I saw Peter hugging, or the United played before the Liverpool game. Pete was there and hugged Lemens. Yeah, exactly. We should have start Lemens in the first 3 games. Biinda costs us quite a few points, but we do need to buy another keeper. I agree with you. I'm 32, as Efes Lemens has a similar build and style to Petchek. Not saying he will be as good, but just Liam, mate. I think Liam that you've got a point. He's very broad. He actually reminds me of Schmeichel. If you go back and you look at how Schmeichel was very, very square. Lemens reminds me of Schmeichel in his build. Now, again, I'm not comparing him to Schmeichel, but he reminds me of a very broad keeper. Like he's a good keeper. So he reminds me a little bit of my bloody brain's gone. My old man brain's gone. He reminds me of the Bayern keeper as well. Very much quite broad as well. So I don't like to over egg plays, but I like him. I like him a lot. Vitek is waiting in the wings. So that other bit, let's so Amorim was then asks about what he thinks. Okay, so he then went on to talk about Bruno. It was then asked about Bruno making his 300th appearance tomorrow. Amorim was asked what he thinks of him as a person and a player. And he basically said, I think it's a little bit different to what I was expecting. Amorim admitted everything you read about the player sometimes is not that. You can understand sometimes, and I already spoke about that, the frustration that he feels is because he wants to help a lot of the teammates. Sometimes it's not the best way, but he comes from a good place, and you don't know that when you are not here. He wants the responsibility all of the time. He suffered a lot with the losses. Every time we don't win a game, you can feel it. That he takes it personally, as he should be as a captain. He's a great leader, a great footballer. Let's see if he's going to reach that mark tomorrow. Interesting comments there. He clearly likes the player. I like how he speaks. He's not gone over the top about him. I think he's right. I think some of the things that he basically says, he's frustrated. He feels it. Sometimes it's not the best way. I love that line. But he comes from a good place. And I think Amorim sums him up fantastically well. I know, fantastic. Then he got asked a question. The head coach was then asked what has impressed him most about how the team has improved compared to the last games. He says, I think the first thing we were, again, really focused in the game. Then we played different games. So we have one and one way of playing, but we adapt what kind of game we need to play in the moment. And you can sense that the first half against Sunderland was not the same as the second half. So in the first was not the same as the second half. We know how to manage that. And then against Liverpool, of course, we scored right away in the first play. And then we managed the game playing in a different style because it was needed in that moment. That is a good thing. And then the spirit, and sometimes when you have a good spirit, you have a bit of luck that we need to win games. JB, do you want to talk about your love for Shaw? So I think that Amorim again, Amorim is doing what he does best, right? Amorim is doing what he does best. He's basically saying Moments FC, isn't he? He's basically saying the same thing again, isn't he? That the team is learning to adapt, and tomorrow he basically expects the team to do the same thing. Compare Lemens to De Gea in his early years. He came better year after year. Lemens will come good. Just give him time. I'm not concerned about Lemens. I'm not concerned about him at all. De Gea was bullied in the first 6 months. He was absolutely bullied. Lemens is not getting bullied, so it's already good. David, man of the match, man of the season 5 times. JB, do you want to talk about Luke Shaw? I'll talk about Luke Shaw tomorrow. Less to talk about Shaw tonight, because Amorim just needs to stay under the radar and just build. I agree. Time for me to go, but I continue to a United win. Come on, United. We don't want to be bombarded by goals. Have a good night and all good weekend. Don't forget to alter the clocks. True. Oliver Kahn. He does actually. Oliver Kahn as well. He's very, very broad. Agree. 14-1 for me. Watch along JB tomorrow. I don't know, Dina. I might not do one tomorrow. Just purely because family stuff. I will decide tomorrow. If not, I am going to watch the match. I just don't know whether I'll do a watch along tomorrow, but I will let you guys know. But so again, pretty much the conference again, and the embargoed section is probably out now, to be fair. I'll go through that. I might do a show tomorrow at some point in the morning, and if there's anything in the embargoed section, then I'll come out with that tomorrow. But so the press conference really, same old. I think really interesting things in there about Lucha, about Mason Mount injured again. For how long we just don't know. Again, it's just a knock. But it's just another press conference onto another game of football. So yes, Liam, have a good morning, my friend. I'm gonna knock off now. It's been a great place and have a nice relaxing time. Thank you, my friend. So I will be back tomorrow. Hopefully a win. So I'm hoping it's going to be a 3-1, 2-1 win tomorrow. Just for the league places, and I think the higher up the league that we get, I think the more confidence that will instill in the team. And Dino's right, another 3 points would be amazing. So I might be back for a watch along tomorrow. The sad thing is, while this is still my part-time thing, I can only do it at certain points. But guys, and as well, guys, we've hit 20,000 subscribers as well now, which is insane. Yeah, it's absolutely mad. So again, that's a massive thank you. You know, I know we don't always agree on here, but I think it's always done in a really respectful way. You know, and this channel isn't anything without you guys, and it's so important for me to recognize that, you know, and whether or not people put in like opinions that are banter, opinions that are real, I know the majority of this stuff is just, you know, it's important for you guys, and it's passion, and it comes from that as well. So guys, I love you too, mate. I mean, you guys on here, this community is fantastic. I love all the different opinions on here as well. You know, Liam, you know, Dino, so DJ as well. You know, you guys, you know, always on here. You know, just yeah, guys, I would just keep it up, guys. Just fantastic opinion. So yeah, I will exactly, you know, one rabbit hole at a time. And there are so many holes that we can get into. Anyway, that's wrong. So on that note, I will have a good rest of your morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you guys are. I should be back tomorrow at some point. I will let you know if I'm doing a watch along. If I don't do a watch along, I will be doing a match reaction. And remember, just don't mention Rashford, Luke Shaw. Yeah, and we'll be friends. So yeah, please do like, share, and subscribe. It really does help us out. Gula from Madrid, fantastic player, fantastic player. But yeah, so guys, have a good one. I will be back tomorrow. Thank you so much. You guys are legends, absolutely fantastic guys. Are just legends. So yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. Stay safe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care, guys.